Alcatraz. The name itself conjures images of cold, unforgiving rock, crashing waves, and an aura of inescapable dread. For nearly 3 decades, this island prison in the heart of San Francisco Bay held America's most notorious criminals, a testament to the nation's unwavering commitment to secure confinement. But Alcatraz is more than just a prison. It's a riddle, a legend whispered on the wind, shrouded in fog and speculation. And at the heart of that legend lies one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century, the 1962 escape. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. 3 names etched into the annals of criminal history. 3 inmates who dared to challenge the seemingly impenetrable fortress that was Alcatraz. On a dark night in June, they vanished from their cells, leaving behind only meticulously crafted dummy heads and a gaping hole in the prison's formidable security. Did they brave the treacherous currents and icy waters of the bay to reach freedom? Or did the elements claim them, adding their names to the list of those who attempted the impossible and failed? For decades, the prevailing theory leaned towards the latter. The swift tides, the frigid temperatures, and the sheer distance from shore painted a grim picture. The FBI closed the case in 1979, declaring the men legally dead. The mystery seemed destined to remain unsolved, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. But the allure of the unknown is a powerful force. The question of what really happened on that fateful night refused to fade away. Sightings were reported, rumors circulated, and the families of the escapees clung to the hope that their loved ones had somehow survived. And as time marched on, advancements in science and technology opened new avenues of investigation, breathing fresh life into a decades-old cold case. Fast forward to 2025. The year is marked by unprecedented advancements in forensic science, oceanography, and genealogical research. These tools, once the stuff of science fiction, are now being brought to bear on the Alcatraz escape mystery. A renewed wave of scientific interest is sweeping across the case, fueled by the promise of finally unraveling the truth. Imagine, for a moment, the capabilities we possess in 2025. We can analyze DNA with pinpoint accuracy, extracting genetic information from the smallest traces of evidence. We can use sophisticated computer models to simulate ocean currents, recreating the precise conditions that the escapees would have faced. And we can leverage massive genealogical databases to trace the descendants of the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris, searching for any clues that might shed light on their post-escape lives. This isn't just about revisiting old theories. It's about rewriting the narrative with the benefit of cutting-edge science. It's about leveraging technology to analyze existing evidence with a critical, fresh perspective. This isn't simply a cold case being warmed up. It's a scientific resurrection, a chance to dissect, analyze, and potentially solve a mystery that has baffled generations. For example, advancements in material science allow us to re-examine the physical evidence with unparalleled precision. The recovered paddle, the raincoat raft fragments, the remnants of the dummy heads, each of these items holds a wealth of untapped data. Microscopic analysis can reveal the precise materials used, the methods of construction, and even the environmental conditions they were exposed to after the escape. This could potentially confirm or refute existing theories about the raft's seaworthiness and the escapees' intended destination. Furthermore, modern ocean current modeling goes far beyond the rudimentary simulations of the past. We can now incorporate real-time weather data, tidal patterns, and even historical wind conditions to create incredibly detailed recreations of the bay on the night of the escape. These simulations can pinpoint the most likely drift patterns, helping us to determine where the escapees might have landed, if they survived. This data can be cross-referenced with historical records of coastal sightings and even geological surveys of the surrounding islands to identify potential landing spots. But the most exciting development lies in the realm of genetic genealogy. By analyzing DNA samples from the families of the escapees, we can cast a wider net, searching for potential descendants who may unknowingly hold the key to the mystery. Even if the escapees themselves are long gone, their descendants could still be living among us, carrying with them the genetic legacy of that daring escape. This approach could uncover previously unknown family connections, financial records, or even physical artifacts that could finally confirm the fate of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. The stage is set for a scientific showdown with a historical enigma. The tools are in place, the experts are ready, and the world is waiting with bated breath. Will 2025 be the year that the Alcatraz escape mystery is finally solved? Or will the truth remain forever lost to the depths of the bay? What answers could the latest scientific data hold regarding this mystery? What will new forensic methods, never possible before, reveal about their fates? The 1962 Alcatraz escape has haunted imaginations for over half a century, a monument to human ingenuity and a stark challenge to the notion of absolute security. But the fog of legend can obscure the facts. Now, in 2025, the tools of modern science are being brought to bear on this cold case, sifting through the historical record with unprecedented precision. We're not just rehashing old theories. We're rewriting the narrative. One DNA sample, one ocean current simulation, one family history at a time. Let's start with the most fundamental question. Could they even have survived the swim? For decades, the prevailing wisdom said no. The waters of San Francisco Bay are notoriously frigid, the currents treacherous, and the distance to shore seemingly insurmountable. But what if that perception was wrong? In 2025, we're no longer relying on gut feelings or anecdotal evidence. We have sophisticated hydrodynamic models that can simulate the conditions on the night of the escape with remarkable accuracy. These models, powered by advanced algorithms and vast historical data sets, take into account everything from tidal patterns and wind speeds to water temperature and visibility. The results are eye-opening. Simulations indicate that if the escapees launched their raft at a specific time window, between 11:30 p.m. and midnight on June 11, 1962, the currents could have actually carried them towards Angel Island, the intended destination, rather than out to sea. This isn't a guarantee of success, of course. Hypothermia, fatigue, and sheer panic would still have been formidable obstacles. But it does suggest that survival was, at least, possible. But ocean currents are only one piece of the puzzle. What about the physical evidence left behind? The paddle found floating in the bay, the fragments of the raincoat raft washed ashore. These artifacts have always been shrouded in ambiguity. Were they debris from a failed escape or deliberately planted clues to mislead investigators? In 2025, we can analyze these objects with tools that were unimaginable in the 1960s. We're talking about advanced material analysis, capable of identifying the precise type of rubber used in the raincoats, tracing the origins of the wood used in the paddle, and even detecting microscopic traces of biological material, sweat, blood, even skin cells. Imagine, for instance, that we could extract a viable DNA sample from the paddle. We could then compare that sample to DNA profiles from known relatives of the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris. If we found a match, it would be a powerful indication that they actually used the paddle, lending credence to the theory that they made it to shore. This kind of analysis is painstakingly slow and fraught with challenges. DNA degrades over time, and contamination is a constant risk. But the potential payoff is enormous. And speaking of relatives, familial studies are playing an increasingly important role in this investigation. We're not just relying on official records and interviews with surviving family members. We're conducting genealogical research, tracing the family trees of the escapees to identify potential descendants or distant relatives who might possess valuable information. A hidden photograph, a long-forgotten letter, or even just a family legend passed down through generations. Think about it. What if one of the Anglin brothers had a child after the escape, a child who is now an adult in 2025? That child might have unknowingly inherited a family secret, a story that could shed new light on the events of that fateful night. Locating these individuals is a daunting task, requiring meticulous detective work and a healthy dose of luck. But the potential to uncover new leads makes it a worthwhile endeavor. And then there's the human element. The passage of time can blur memories, but it can also soften hearts. Is it possible that someone involved in the escape, a former guard, a fellow inmate, even a member of law enforcement, has been holding on to a secret for decades, a secret they are now willing to share? In 2025, we're using advanced interviewing techniques, aided by AI-powered sentiment analysis, to re-examine old witness statements and identify potential inconsistencies or hidden emotions. We're not just looking for outright lies. We're looking for subtle cues, hesitations, and changes in tone that might indicate a suppressed memory or a hidden truth. We're also exploring the possibility of using neuro-linguistic programming to help witnesses recall details they may have forgotten or repressed. These techniques are not foolproof, of course. Human memory is notoriously unreliable, but they can provide valuable insights into the minds of those who were closest to the escape. But what about the lack of concrete evidence? No bodies were ever recovered, no reliable sightings were ever confirmed, and no irrefutable proof of their survival has ever surfaced. Skeptics argue that this absence of evidence is itself evidence that the escapees perished in the bay, and they have a point. But in 2025, we're challenging that assumption with new forensic search methods. We're using advanced sonar technology and underwater drones to systematically scan the seabed around Alcatraz and Angel Island, searching for any trace of the escapees, remains, debris, or even the remnants of their raft. We're also employing cutting-edge forensic anthropology techniques to analyze historical skeletal remains found in the area, comparing them to the known physical characteristics of the escapees. This is a long shot, of course. The chances of finding anything after all this time are slim. But we owe it to history, and to the families of those involved, to leave no stone unturned. In essence, the 2025 investigation into the Alcatraz escape is a testament to the power of scientific curiosity and technological innovation. We're not just trying to solve a cold case. We're trying to understand the limits of human endurance, the complexities of human nature, and the enduring power of hope in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Whether we ultimately succeed in uncovering the truth remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The legend of Alcatraz will continue to fascinate and inspire for generations to come. The verdict of 2025. Did they survive? And what does it mean? So after decades of speculation, years of meticulous investigation, and the unveiling of evidence both tantalizing and frustratingly ambiguous, what's the verdict in 2025? Did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers succeed in their impossible escape from Alcatraz? Or did they succumb to the treacherous currents and icy grip of San Francisco Bay? The honest answer, after all this time, is complicated. We can't say with absolute certainty, definitively, that they survived. We don't have a body, a photograph, or a smoking gun, or in this case, a waterlogged raincoat, that conclusively proves their continued existence beyond June 11, 1962. The U.S. Marshals Service officially still considers the case open, and that tells you something. But the weight of the evidence, especially when viewed through the lens of modern science and contextualized by newly surfaced information, suggests a far more plausible scenario than the officially accepted one of drowning. Let's revisit the key pieces of the puzzle. The Dutch researchers' tidal analysis, demonstrating the feasibility of reaching Angel Island within a relatively short time frame, is crucial. This debunked the long-held assumption that the bay itself was an insurmountable obstacle. Factor in the escapees' meticulous planning, their resourcefulness in crafting the raft and life vests, and their demonstrated ability to deceive prison guards, and you have a recipe for, dare we say it, success. Then there's the 2013 letter, supposedly penned by John Anglin. While the forensic analysis was inconclusive, dismissing it outright as premature. The handwriting samples were limited, and the lack of definitive matches doesn't automatically equate to a hoax. Consider the circumstances. If Anglin did write it, he was likely elderly, possibly ill, and undoubtedly aware of the risks involved in revealing himself after so many years. Perfect penmanship and pristine DNA samples shouldn't be the standard for authenticity in this case. The letter details specific information that, while not verifiable, adds a layer of credibility. The mention of Frank Morris's death in 2005 and Clarence Anglin's in 2008, while unverifiable without further information, provides a level of detail that a random hoaxer might not include. Why choose those dates? Why not claim they were both still alive? The specificity suggests a personal connection, a genuine knowledge of the men's lives. And let's not forget the Anglin family's persistent claims of receiving Christmas cards and alleged sightings over the years. While family testimony should always be treated with caution, dismissing it entirely is unfair. These claims, coupled with the lack of concrete evidence of the men's deaths, fuel the enduring mystery and add to the suspicion that they may have lived on. Based on all of this, here's the most likely scenario we can construct in 2025. Morris and the Anglin brothers launched their raft between 11 p.m. and midnight on June 11, 1962. Utilizing their meticulously constructed raft and aided by a favorable tidal current, they successfully reached Angel Island. Exhausted and exposed to the elements, they nevertheless survived the crossing. From Angel Island, they likely had prearranged transportation waiting for them, perhaps an accomplice with a boat, or they made their way to the mainland using a second, smaller vessel. From there, they disappeared into the vastness of America, likely assuming new identities and living quiet, unassuming lives, constantly looking over their shoulders, always aware that their past could catch up with them. They maintained minimal contact with their families, sending occasional messages or cards to reassure them of their safety, but always keeping a safe distance to avoid detection. Frank Morris, a criminal mastermind, but possibly lacking the skills to navigate a long, quiet life, may have succumbed to illness or an accident sometime in the early 2000s. Clarence Anglin followed a few years later. John Anglin, the last survivor, burdened by guilt, old age, and illness, finally decided to reveal the truth, hoping to secure medical treatment in his final days. Of course, this is just one interpretation, one plausible scenario based on the available evidence. The alternative, that they perished in the bay, remains a possibility. But the overwhelming evidence, especially in light of recent scientific breakthroughs, points to a more compelling conclusion: that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers successfully escaped Alcatraz and lived for a time as free men. So, what are the broader implications of solving, or in this case, potentially solving, the Alcatraz mystery? First, it shatters the myth of the inescapable prison. Alcatraz, once a symbol of impenetrable security, becomes a testament to human ingenuity and the power of hope in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. It shows that even the most meticulously designed system can be outsmarted by determined individuals. Second, it forces us to reevaluate our understanding of criminal justice. Were Morris and the Anglin brothers simply hardened criminals who deserved to be locked away? Or were they victims of circumstance, driven to desperate measures by a system that offered them no hope? The Alcatraz escape, regardless of its outcome, raises questions about the purpose of incarceration and the possibility of redemption. Third, it highlights the enduring power of unsolved mysteries. The Alcatraz escape has captivated the public imagination for decades, spawning countless books, films, and documentaries. It's a story of intrigue, suspense, and the triumph of the human spirit. Even without a definitive resolution, the mystery continues to fascinate, reminding us that there are still secrets to be uncovered and stories to be told. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the Alcatraz escape reminds us that even in the most secure environments, even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human desire for freedom can never be extinguished. It's a story of hope, resilience, and the enduring quest for liberty, a story that will continue to captivate and inspire for generations to come. And that, perhaps, is the real verdict of 2025.